drei schon drauf? Wir sind ja jetzt 3 Leute. Anais. Da ist noch 2. Anna. Genau. Gut, dann müssen wir mal warten. Wenn die auftauchen, haben wir's. Ja. Super. Dankeschön. Danke sehr. Anaid, we will sit, huh? Or do you want to stand when you present? Do you prefer to stand? Good. So you stand. But then afterwards you sit. Good. Super. I'm Hans. Portugal. Great. I'm very happy to see you. I've been in 2000, 2002. We did what we call the sustainable mystery tour. History tour. What is sustainable? We started in Estonia and we ended. Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're welcome. And that time we were working with Inloco, you know Inloco. Yes. And we were doing it with Priscilla and Alberto. Yes. And Miniaterra is now, at that time I think you were more or less doing
in 2002. It was the beginning. We were founded in 2000. So
yeah.
It was the beginning of our network.
Yeah. Inloco existed longer, already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Inloco is there even before Leader. They started.
But they are now shrinking a bit, huh? I have the feeling, no?
Yeah, in terms of numbers of people working there, yes.
Yeah.
In terms of projects too, there are more local development organizations. So local was a big covering Algarve and one part of Alentejo. Now more associations working there, and in local is special. It's different.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. They also have an important. Thank you.
No, don't worry. Don't. If you have my. Thank you.
Thank you. So it is up to me to put it.
I guess
The first one.
Yeah, that's the
I
first
will be the second one. Yeah.
You're the third.
Okay. I'm the third.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure that Boban is going to do it with a PowerPoint, but we will see. Okay. Do you prefer to stand when you present?
To stand here.
Or to sit?
No, to stand. Okay. I will read.
Good. I just want to know. Some people prefer to sit. Dankeschön für die Stühle. Danke sehr.
Okay.
Hey, grüß dich.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Pedro, ich will dich auch mit auf der Bühne haben. Okay, thank you very much. Huh? Was heißt morgens? Wolltest du nachmittags erst? Der ganze Vormittag? Nein, heute Morgen bist du, glaube ich, hier vorgesehen. Ja. Zwischen 11 und 12:30 Uhr allerdings erst. Also, wir haben jetzt drei ja, und dann haben wir Questions, dann haben wir kurze Erklärung, wie das nachher läuft mit dem Manifesto, und dann haben wir diese Generaldiskussion. Ja. Und ja, wenn du lieber unten bleibst, ist auch gut. denke, vielleicht machen wir es nach diesem, dass wir die 3 aufholen, das wird reichen. Ich will die anderen aber mit drauf behalten, deshalb habe ich jetzt 6 Leute hier. Ich glaube, das ist okay.
Gut. Nachmittags machen wir erst die Manifesto-Session länger, oder?
Ja. Da bist du ja voll dann hier. Ne? Aber ich will dich ja heute Morgen nochmal zu den Flüchtlingen.
Okay. Nee, ja, gerne.
Ja, gut. Dann gebe ich dir nochmal die Gelegenheit dann. Nein, das ist alles. Das ist nicht vom anderen Tag. Ach so, ne, dann ist das, warte mal, da gibt es hier noch einen zweiten Teil. Ah, hier. 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 Das ist der zweite Teil. Ja. Dann machen wir Informal Gathering. Ja? Prima. Super. Ja, hallo. Wer ist denn da? Was musst du machen? Du musst mich streamen. Stream mich bitte. Oh, das ist aber dumm. Jetzt kribbelt's mir aber schon. Bin ich denn schon on screen? Siehst du mich? Nein. Okay. Also du erkennst mich daran, dass ich ein etwas zerfleddertes rotes Jackett anhabe. Ja. Ja? Ach, gut. Du, das gibt mir jetzt aber ein super Gefühl. Lisi, geht's dir denn sonst gut? Ja, wunderbar. Oh, das ist... second.
Eins, zwei.
Normally, the order is so. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Would you please take your seats so we can start? Still people outside? Could you get everybody in from outside, please? That would be good. All right, good morning, everybody. We would like to introduce this morning, just to give you an overview of our program of today, have a little look back into what we've been doing, then give you some important information on logistics. Thomas will do that. And then we have 3 short interventions on issues which are very important, which we have identified as important issues to discuss also in connection with the working groups of yesterday, but also in view of what we want to adopt today as our common manifesto. So after the field visits on Wednesday, yesterday, just to give you a reminder of what we've done in the plenary session, we have had a broader view of what we wanted to do. We've defined the working groups. We had our gathering around the question of what kind of initiatives are interesting for us. We had the market of initiatives in the afternoon. We had the working groups, and we had a wonderful evening. Thank you, Thomas and Lise and everybody who was organized then on the boat with music. It's impressive. In Austria, almost everybody plays an instrument, and that's not just because there are instruments in Austria, but because from the very beginning, children are supported in singing and in playing instruments. That's a very impressive thing, and then, you know, almost everybody can be on stage at any time. Thank you, Thomas and Lise and everybody for organizing this for us. Today, what will we do? We will have this morning session with 3 issues which are important to us. Then we have a short explanation of where we are with the manifesto. You remember we had from the working groups a lot of inputs, which we've tried last evening to synthesize into something that finally didn't go beyond a 4-page document. You will have the chance this afternoon to go line by line with us, with Michael, and with Pedro to find our final version of the manifesto. And this is an interesting process. You might have heard how UN works when they work with squared brackets and so on their resolutions. I think we will have it a little bit easier because the manifesto was there earlier. We had the possibility to refer to it in the working groups, and this afternoon we will make really the final version with you. And that should be your version, to work with in your countries, to bring it out to the general public, to explain it to people. It will be backed up then later, as Michael explained, by the book that already exists, with all the material we've gathered over a year now from your national campaigns. So that is more or less the day. Of course, we will have an informal gathering afterwards, so we can finish our European Rural Parliament with informal chats and so on. But the question, of course, is how do you get home? And Thomas will now explain you a little bit how the situation is with the strikes announced by Lufthansa. But before I give you the word, I just wanted to give a little appeal. When we had the photo session yesterday, Goran handed out his mobile phone to make photos. And since that photo session, his mobile phone has disappeared. And I would like you all to check whether, for what reason ever, you perhaps have seen that mobile phone. It's a Samsung modern black envelope around it, right? Samsung mobile phone. So if you've seen it or you have any idea where it could be, please, Goran, could you just stand up so that you see? This is the man without mobile phone. And you see he has a sympathy of everybody. Everybody knows what it means if you lose all your addresses and stuff. And yes. And he announces, whoever finds it gets a wonderful bottle of his wine. So, Thomas, please.
Okay, sorry to start with bad news. Yes, Lufthansa starts with strike later than 2 afternoon. So not all flights are cancelled. So there is Austria, Lufthansa City Line, for example, German wings, and they will not strike. It's only the standard Lufthansa. They have a very nice web page. They apologize, of course, but they check the web page, and maybe it can be very short that you get information. But the Lufthansa aviation company still don't know exactly when it starts and which flights and so on. What I like to ask now, I hope everyone is here. I have here that 2 Swedes have to go to Vienna. Flight is at 8:30. Are the Sweden already here? No? Okay, then I will ask later. To Cyprus, I have a flight in the evening. Are they already here? Cyprus like to sleep a little bit longer. It's my personal experience from Cyprus cooperation. Okay. From Linz, Sweden, Wales. Participants from Sweden and Wales have a flight from Linz at around 6. Is this right? Okay. You all, so those to Sweden, the Cyprus from Vienna, Sweden, Wales, flights from Linz. You will have a shuttle at 2 after the lunch to the train station. Okay? It's a little bit early for you, but please, we can't make individual shuttle for each of you. Then I have here on my schedule 4 Northern Islands, 2 Sweden, Iceland, 1 English. You have flights in the evening from Munich, is this right? Yes. This in total 11, so we will offer a shuttle service which brings it directly to the airport at 4. Okay? The bus always will leave behind the tent at the bus stop. You know where the bus stop is? It's when you go down from Kupinhol to the road, you are directly at the bus stop. The bus will always be there. At 2, a mini bus bringing Sweden, Cyprus, Sweden, Wales to the train station. At 4, Northern Ireland, Sweden, Iceland, England will bring it directly to the airport, Munich. Then, tomorrow morning, I have here Kosovo, Turkey, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Denmark, Poland. Yes, they have flights from Vienna and Linz. Yeah. We have to check whether there is the we have to do this individual or offer one service. Maybe let's do that in the afternoon when hopefully everyone is here. Then we have tomorrow morning Iceland, Portugal, England, Estonia, Sweden and Cyprus departing from Munich. There a bus will leave at 9 here from Schärding. At 9 from Schärding a bus will leave to bring them also directly to Munich. These are 17 persons. So yeah, those who have to flight very early tomorrow morning, like Kosovo at 9:55, I'm sure we need a taxi because you need the first train, and the first train, I think it's around 5:30 in the morning to catch the flight at 9:55. It's the Kosovo delegation, 2 of you. So there we have to organize an individual taxi. Turkey, Bulgaria and Cyprus, the flights are at 2:20, 3:15 and 20:40, I see here, 8:40 evening. We will offer the shuttle at around 12, or what you can do, you can join our field trip. And there, during the field trip, a minivan will bring you then to the train station, Passau, right in time. Okay? Also the others, for example, Denmark, Poland, who are leaving tomorrow from Linz in the afternoon. No, the Polish delegation departing from Linz at 10:55, you need a taxi in the morning, but the Denmark delegation will also be part of this shuttle service from the field trip. You can join the field trip and will, let's say at 10 or 11, we will bring you to the train station. Then Pedro and another Polish, I see, they are departing, I think, by train from Passau. Pedro, you will take a taxi, please, in the morning then, or from Schärding. Yeah, you can walk, it's no problem. And I have only here Passau, Poland, 6:38, I think there's a train. You can also participate to our field trip, and we will bring you right in time to the train station in Passau, because the field trip tomorrow stops at 2:30 afternoon at the train station in Passau. Those who have to go back to Schärding, the bus will leave in Passau at 5. You have it on the schedule. You can download from the webpage. Okay. And those who are leaving on Sunday, this is Belarus and Armenia. You have to take the train from Schärding as you arrived. For the Munich people, this are in totally a lot, don't know, a bus will depart from Munich at 7 in the morning, because the first flights are at 10:30, 10:35. So at Sunday, 7 morning. Then next question, is the delegation from Best Western Hotel Passau, all who are accommodated in Best Western Hotel? Is there someone here? Do you need shuttle services this evening and tomorrow morning for field trips? Please contact us at the registration desk if anyone needs a shuttle. I don't know when you're leaving, so sorry. Please contact us when you need shuttle from Best Western Passau to Schärding or back or train, okay? So, thanks, Hannes. Thanks.
Thank you. After the bad news, there's good news. Apparently, you can have extra field trips to overcome those times. So that's apparently good news. Let's look at it that way. But thank you for organizing it. It's complicated stuff, and that sounds all perfect in a situation like that. I hope you will get home as you liked or planned, at least not with too many difficulties. So, now we start our morning session. We have until 10:30 more or less for when we have a coffee break to listen to our 3 champions. And then we have a short explanation by Michael about the progress we've made on the manifesto and how we will discuss it this afternoon. And from Vanessa, a call that you really participate actively in our evaluation, because if we want to improve in the future our European rural parliaments, we need your feedback. So that will be a general discussion. It will not be a discussion already about the manifesto, but it will be points which we like to focus on short before the coffee break, and afterwards we have a general discussion. It will not be a discussion already about the manifesto, but it will be points which we like to focus on, which we would like to highlight, which have come out of the working groups as things which we might want to discuss more deeper, and for that we will invite 3 more people to contribute to that discussion. But I will announce that later. So, first of all, I would like now to invite Anaid Gazanchan from Haifa International, and you have something like 10 to 15 minutes. Is that okay for you? Yes. So, here you go. This is on.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you, Hannes. And no.
You will be switched.
Okay. Dear friends, dear colleagues, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Michael, for the invitation. And this is second time I see faces already familiar after Milan conference. So I feel myself not outlier, though our country is not a part of LEADER program in Europe, but we are doing very similar things, and we hope that in future we will be entering with equal rights your family. I represent 2 organizations here, Heifer Project International. I am country director for Armenia, and also Development Principles NGO, which is a national Armenian organization, and I'm president of that organization. These 2 organizations, first I want to say about Armenia, because not everybody probably knows about Armenia. This is a very small country, landlocked, and we have population with very high level of migration, as in all post-Soviet republics. And population is about 3 million, a little bit above 3 million. Armenians living right in Armenian Republic, but around 10 million Armenians lives abroad in different countries, mainly in USA, Russia, France, Germany, and Near East. Unfortunately, our very good Armenian community in Syria was totally destroyed recently, so we also had refugees from Syria. More than 30,000 families we accommodated and hosted in our rural areas, and not only in urban also. I must say that this refugee wave is very different from the other refugees, because they are very educated, they are professional, I mean at least those who came to our country, because Armenians used to have very good crafts, owners, and very well professional people. But anyway, this does not mean that they are not refugees, because they left everything they had. They came without money, without their wealth, everything. So in Armenia, agriculture and rural development is a strategic important area, because as you see, more than a third of population lives in the villages, and the important feature of our agriculture and rural development is that we do have, after this privatization, after Soviet times, we do have very fragmented agriculture. We have more than 340,000 small farms, which is very, very inefficient in order to build the agriculture in a proper way. At the same time, we are really adhere to the promoting the small farmers, family farms. So family farm is not something foreign for us. This is a very good concept, and I do hope that the European strategy also toward family farm will help us also in the neighborhood, concept, European neighborhood concept also will support our development also. So I just present several several data that will, all in all, will show that rural development is extremely important and strategic direction of our national economic policy. Development principles and Hafer International, we have shared methodology, shared mission, and Hafer International, being a US-based organization, made a decision after 15 years to exit all the European countries, and the last country is Armenia, where they have to exit. But they cannot exit now because we are running still projects funded by USAID. At the same time, we started the transition plan, which is very important because it is the rare case when international or American organization exits by handing over its legacy, its assets, and its program commitments to a local advanced NGO, which is development principles. Key methodologies, what we are using, this is very important because you will see similarities with the leader approach in Europe. We call it values-based planning and management, which allows us also to do community competitiveness assessment and develop further action plans for the development of the community. And another methodology that we are using, this is youth leadership development, and I am very happy to say that these two, all the methodologies I learned and I adapted in Armenian reality, I learned from USA and from the 4H methodology. Maybe you know about this methodology. I know that in Romania you have 4C, and in Poland also they have 4H clubs. And this stands for the head, hands, health, heart, which shows the comprehensive, the holistic approach toward development of the youth. Now a little bit in detail about that. There is one very important programmatic cornerstone that in all our programs, we truly believe that whatever person or family or community is receiving, the commitment should be to pass on. This shows that we maintain the dignity of the person, dignity of the community, dignity of the family. When you are in need of getting something, you are a recipient, but through the program you are developing yourself to the stage when you can become a donor. So this, we are very adhere to this principle of passing on the gift. In all our programs, we follow this principle. Values-based planning and management, I used to share with some of you during these 2 previous days. This is four-step planning and management exercise when we are not doing this for the community, but we facilitate the community to define the situation in regards to people, place, and product, and then envision the future when they start dreaming of the final outcome they would like to see. Then the third step, they start planning and managing concrete, and here we have the proposal, we have the program, we have the budget, and then monitor and evaluation. Monitor and evaluation in our program also is very important. We have several levels of evaluation, which is of course internally by the staff, by the program people, but the most important thing, the primary evaluation, is being done by the community. We call it self-participatory evaluation. In accordance with our mission, we are trying to end hunger and poverty and care for the earth. So definitely we are working with poor people, with the segments that needed our assistance. In this case, we have this kind of concept of ABC poverty continuum, which means A, from the very vulnerable people, going to C. C is no vulnerability, it's very stable, sustainable, so no crisis can dramatically affect this either family or community. And interventions, we need to assess, and we need the community needs to realize what proportion of A and B they have in order to achieve to the C condition. And here, when we plan respectively the interventions, at the A stage, we plan interventions at the individual and family level. For example, we may give a gravid cow or 10 sheep to a family to help them to start small farm. At the B, we help not only individual and family, but also community, because we may install the milk collection unit, so that not one family but many families will be benefiting by by selling their milk, by linking them to the market. And of course, C is a community and national level. Community level, when we form cooperative, we help them to form cooperative that will take over all the responsibility for production and for the development, economic development. National level, it relates to the policies, because you can have very good ideas, very good implementation approaches, but if there is no enabling environment supported by respective policies and legislation, you cannot do anything. So, for example, in our country, the procurement of agricultural inputs like cows, sheep, everything, it's tax exempted, so you are not paying taxes on that. But if you are, let's say, starting producing agricultural produce like milk or some preserves, whatever, so here where you are entering different tax legislation. So farmers need to know about that. I want to share several programs that are using all these methodologies. I will very briefly go through them because I want to focus on my favorite one. This is Advanced Rural Development Initiative, when we had several components, and one component is rural economic development, when we are helping them with the infrastructure, also with the trainings and with the business grants especially to the youth and women. But everything starts with the community competitiveness analysis, which is done using Hafer methodology. And another program is supported by actually we are supporting this program, that is a national governmental program. We are supporting the community to come up with the co-financing, and the community within this program, they are able to improve the pastures, the remote pastures, so that they can increase the livestock production. They can have proper conditions for grazing for the livestock, and therefore for these 2 years we can say that 25% of the production depended on the intervention that we did in this program. We improved the pastures, we improved the roads leading to the alpine zones. Armenia is a mountainous country, I forget to tell about that, but 90% of our land is in the mountains. From one side, this is very discomfort, you know, but from another side, this is, you have a lot of wonderful natural resources that you have to manage wisely. So this is a very important program because it allows to teach people that you cannot just graze whenever you want and wherever you want. You have to have a management plan for grazing the livestock. Recently, in these 3 years, we had 2 wonderful programs that was co-funded by EU. This is a joint operational program, Black Sea Basin Regional Cooperation. We had two programs, and both had developed respective websites. One was Youth Action for Regional Cooperation and Coherence, and another one was promoting innovative tourism in rural tourism in Black Sea Basin region. These two programs covered 4 countries: Armenia, Georgia, Turkey, and Bulgaria. And we achieved very, very interesting results in these programs. Not only we learn each other and we learn how to work with each other, but also we establish, due to these programs, we established the regional network of youth, the regional network of businesses and people, NGOs who are working in hospitality sector. So we hope that we will be able to continue working with the same partners, and they include more partners in this program. And now it's my favorite program because it was sort of like the baby I delivered after my trip to USA, studied to USA in '99. So when I learned about the 4H methodology, I came back to Armenia and adapted this methodology to Armenian reality. The program is called Youth Empowered for Self-Reliance, or YES program. And you can read about this program on the website of Development Principles Organization. But what is the main idea? The main idea is that rural youth, they have basic education in the schools, but they are lacking the life skills. And they are lacking some interesting, activities in the rural areas. So we are doing intervention, we are helping them in 3 levels. First level, we are giving them vocational education and training in 7 directions, which is agriculture, ecology, business or entrepreneurship, civic education, health education, journalism, and logical thinking. All these subjects were a result of our assessment, so this is not we decided, but this is what was really felt need in the communities. And second level is that all this, second level is that after this training education, they are entering the individual or group project, which is Rural Youth Parliament, which is a group project. So those who are who completed the civic education, they form a rural youth parliament in the village. By the way, back to one statement 2 days ago, our youth who are sitting on this youth parliament, they are observers in the village council. So this is very important. And village council also is invited to sit. They have seat of observers, not decision-making, in the youth parliament. Then youth ecological police, that they identify the hotspots in the community and they organize. The issue is that not the youth is doing all the work, but the issue is that we teach them, the youth mobilize the community. So in these particular activities, youth behaves as a driving force, as an organizer, as leaders, of all this. So they are taking responsibility. Also, and they are leading the adults, they are leading the community, which is very important. I don't have time? Yeah. One minute, okay. So, and I finish actually, because in all our programs, actually, what is the difference in our program, comparing with other NGOs probably, especially in our area. NGOs, they don't have funds. They all are trying to get grants, etc., etc. So we are in similar situation, but I want really to thank very much HAFER International, because without the annual core budget that we received from HAFER International during all these 15 years, we were not able to attract other funds, to do things that we wanted. So my really big thank you to HAFER International. And every intervention, every project we did, we always have some sustainable follow-up. And one of the follow-ups is that we create networks. Right now, if we need, for example, to organize a rural forum, we can do it in 2 days because we have all the connections, we have all the representation, and all the youth that are graduating our youth clubs, they form association of Yes Club alumni, and they are future for all future interventions that will help, I hope, to retain the youth in the rural areas. So, as I said, we have all Armenian networks and we have regional networks, and our current and future development is that we have mission, but we need to think about the financial sustainability of the mission. Yesterday we talked about that NGOs are, my Portuguese colleague mentioned that NGOs are always dependent on the funds. Yes, but let us think about becoming a social entrepreneurships. So in this case, you can gain revenues, you can generate income that you will funnel into the accomplishment of your mission. This is something, it's in the seed stage, but we are thinking about that because it's good that we are getting responses for the calls, we are participating, we are getting grants, but we have to do at least something to be a little bit minimally self-reliant. Because we ask other people, you know, to be self-reliant. So we have to show that we are also can be self-reliant. So we want to continue networks, strengthening networks, and we want to learn more on best practices and replicate them. And I want to thank my colleagues in Lithuania and Estonia. I learn a lot, so I just need to stratify everything in order to be back and start replicating. So this is something I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much. If there is any questions, by the way, if there is an internet connection, I would like to play. This is 1 minute, but you will enjoy. I'm not connecting to internet, I'm sorry. But if it is, okay. Everything is on developmentprinciples.org. Okay, if you go there, this is the infomercials that we develop for 4 countries, so you will really enjoy the music and you will see the sceneries in 4 countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anaid, for this very, very encouraging history. And you talked about youth. Sorry? You didn't finish? Okay, you go.
I brought several books, just only one example, excuse me. But we have evaluation of the youth project who wanted to look through, and I can send PDF. And we do have the something, so please look through and take whatever you want. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Do approach her during coffee break. And the idea of a European youth parliament wouldn't be bad, would it be? Yeah. I think you have experience about it, and we have a lot of young people here who are... Yes, and do not move away, please. I mean, with all your experience, you shouldn't move away from... I mean, you have not taken the decision to move away from that region. And you know we are... As Prepare now very interested in working in the Black Sea region, so Armenia is part of that. And so I would really encourage everybody to contact you and to look at all the links you've given us, and perhaps you can give us also your PowerPoint presentation so we can put it onto the net and everybody can have access to it. It's on laptop. We will make sure that everybody gets access to the information. Next is another person who has been a big bridge builder in a region some people think are a complicated region, but we have discovered it's not at all. There's a lot of good energy in the Western Balkan region, and Boban Ilic is Secretary General of the Regional Rural Development Standing Working Group. A long thing. He will explain what that is and tell us what the activities of SWGR and what the challenges actually are for the region. Boban, please.
Thank you, Hannes. Dear organizers, my speech will take not more than 10 minutes, I promise. I'm honored and privileged to be with you and actually to address this parliament or forum, as we call it. As Hannes explained, I will speak now actually on behalf of the Western Balkans within my capacity and my mandate as a Secretary General of the intergovernmental organization created by the Ministries of Agriculture from the Balkan countries. It was very difficult actually to start my address here talking about the Balkans, which is not integrated into EU, into Europe. I can see that here, at least among you, among this rural parliament, the Balkans is fully integrated. So, thank you very much for that. We have to make another step and actually push the politicians to do the formal integration of the Balkans. As I said, why I am here and what I experienced the last 2 days, I'm missing some words. English is not my native language, but I will cite one of my friend actually, who is English native speaker. Maybe you will recognize whom I'm talking about. It says, I have been traveling around rural Europe for 25 years as an enthusiast for rural development. I have met rural people and their representatives and leaders in all the 27 countries within and some countries still outside the EU. I had to choose one word as the root of effective action in rural development. It would be this: pride. Pride is sometimes thought of as a sin. So, this is Michael Dauer, my friend since 2-3 years ago. And I mean, in his age, he's also inspiring me, my generation, and also all the people from the Balkan, I mean, to work on this subject about the rural development, helping rural communities, and also helping even our governments to do the necessary homework in order to integrate into Europe. Parliament itself is about the democracy, right? And we somehow, I mean, live in a very strange time when things globally, some things are happening and we are not even aware what is going on, or we are trying to be smart and figure out that there is a game. You as a representatives of civil society organizations, sometimes even organizations, consultants, the civil sector, so to say, are trying to help and trying to actually follow the consequences of the big games. We have seen in Schärding these refugees coming in the evening with my colleague Peter. And there is in Europe some dissonant, actually, voices full of xenophobic rhetorics, chauvinism, let's be honest, fascistic even opinions, which are preaching about that there is an invasion of Islamic whatever, that this will disturb Europe, it will change the face of Europe. You, as a representatives of civil society, please do not allow that these voices are becoming majority. Do not let that nowadays minority take over and do the majorization And why we are, I mean, I'm coming from the Balkans. Just 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I was a student when all these things we have seen already, we have seen in life, when a group of idiots actually turned the country into an even war. And now we have the Balkans with a different political map. I'm not urging that we reunite and so on, but after 25 years, we just see that this was a very, very stupid thing. So, Europe is also under danger. If this crisis, economical, but also this refugee crisis, is actually taking over the public opinion, then Europe is under danger. And there is still, I can here see people who even remember, I mean, how it was, but also some youngsters who don't even know they are born in Europe, so to say, United Europe. Europe is very good, and Europe, you have to keep it for yourself. Nothing is bad about Europe and European Union. Therefore, we in the Balkans, if you just take a look into the map of Europe, it's the only island in Europe which is not part of the European Union. On this level, whoever you are, whomever you represent, maybe some of you will become even, I don't know, politicians or member of the European Parliament or decision makers in your government. I appeal to you and I plead all of you to understand countries in the Balkans, the nations in the Balkans are European and only European. Please help us to do our homework and to get integrated into EU as soon as possible. More you are keeping, or the politicians are keeping the Balkans countries away from the EU, bigger trouble for Europe is coming. 10 years ago, the country I'm coming from, Macedonia, was a normal country with all the problems which country in transition can have. The country has been blocked in its integration because of one issue. Not necessary to name it. 10 years after, we have a different and much bigger problems in the country. This also refers to the entire Balkan. The democracy is under question in some of the countries, autocracy being developed, media being covered. So civil society, very hard for them. I'm very sorry for them, and within my capacity trying to help them as much as possible. So Europe also has to do its part of the job. We have to be together. If the slogan of this parliament is all Europe shall live, then let us in and let's do living together. There is one saying of Nobel Prize winner from our region. I don't even know whether he's a Bosnian, Serb, Croat, whatever. Doesn't even matter. He was a great man, Ivo Andrić. Referring to this hard time in which we are living, I will try to translate his saying. It says, sometimes there is a time when the wisdom gets quiet, when the fools start talking and the scums get rich. Let's not allow that this happen in our Europe, because we are just seeing that this was happening in the Balkans. And then you as a Europeans, please try to help us and understand us. One thing is for sure, and I would like to assure you, We don't want to get into EU because of the EU funds, EU money. This is a wrong logic. At the end of the day, we don't need your money. We need your understanding. We need your assistance, whatever it could mean. And the development of our countries, we will do it alone. Okay, last but not least. Since Parliament is about the democracy, you are going to adopt the manifesto. I did my best to put the subject of the Balkan in the manifesto. Eventually our organizers accepted, reframe it, rephrase it, and so on. Democracy means that you can say openly what your thinking and feelings are. Please do not get any of what I will say as a political message or intention, or even as a kind of a lobbying opportunity. I will refer to my country, Macedonia. By the way, I'm an ethnic Serb, so even in my own country I am a minority, but I would like to refer to the European Rural Parliament, to all the organizations represented here, to name my country and to refer to my country as Macedonia. We are Macedonians for years. My wife is Macedonian and my children are half Macedonian. So, by saying this, I really don't want to offend our neighbors, our Greek colleagues, or even Cypriots maybe get emotional about this. This is not about the emotion. Just give us the right to call ourselves as we are. 20 years after, I'm really sick and tired of explaining who we are and what we are. And at the end of the day, it is not even important. Those who don't want to name us whatever we are, please don't. But at least you, on your level, at least refer to us as we would like to be called, or not what we would like to be called, but what we are. Therefore, use it in all your documents, whatever stupid reference, former Yugoslav or whatever, but when at least talking to us, at least respect. I mean, it is about the human relations. It is not about politics. Again, I am pleading to the colleagues not to understand this wrongly as an attempt for whatever lobbying. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address to you. Standing Working Group for Regional Rural Development. You can find all the information on the website, what we are doing. I don't want to exaggerate on that. We will continue working with Prepare, with some of you I know even personally, with some of you even we cooperate together. So, and also come to the Balkans and see that it is not as complicated as it look like here, but let's do some work together, and on behalf of the Balkan countries, on behalf of the delegations from our region, from Kosovo, Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, Macedonia, we are all willing to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Boban. You are not only a bridge builder between governments in a region which we don't want to call difficult, because we have experienced the good energy that comes out of the Balkan region over the whole years we know you. You are also a bridge builder towards civil society, because you are looking at the civil society movements in the Balkans and have helped them to come together. So thank you for that, and thank you also for the very clear words towards the European Union. I share with you that opinion. that the Balkans belong to Europe, not about money, whatever, but just because we belong together in Europe. And I think you deserve, and your countries and your region deserves the support of the European Union. I would like now to invite Luis Chavez from Miniaterra from Portugal to come and speak. You will be, just one word, Michael mentioned it earlier, we were very impressed of the way the champions in Portugal organized themselves to contribute to this parliament, and we would like to hear from you also what you plan for the future, how you would like to use. You said, I think earlier, Portugal is the best region, right, in Europe? No, didn't you say that, something?
It wasn't I.
Oh, wasn't you? Oh, sorry.
But it's the most beautiful.
But it is the most beautiful.
Most
so
beautiful.
there you go.
Do you know how to put it? What we have to do here, you know? So we use the slideshow. Okay. Dear European Rural Parliament delegates and other participants, I would like to start thanking Michael and telling you that it's a great honor to us to be here sharing with you just in a few minutes the process, the main findings and the results and the challenges faced by rural communities based on the process we held in Portugal. First of all, I would like to present Miniaterra Network. It's the national partner of this campaign in Portugal. It's a founding member of ILARD, and it's a federation that brings together 53 local development associations. These associations that are leading members of local partnerships responsible for the implementation of local development strategies and the leader. Although we are not just a leader network, it is undeniable that leader played a key role in structuring this movement and in the process and results of this campaign. In Portugal, there is a lack of tradition of social movements with participatory character like rural parliaments that you have in many of your countries. On the other hand, local development associations working with leader are highly representative and have a great local recognition. So, Miniaterra chose to develop the process of consultation to the European Rural Parliament through the activities of the local development associations in preparation of the local development strategies to operate under CLLD from 2014 to 2020, whose preparatory works began last year and are ending now with the selection of the new so-called multi-funded strategies and the new rural local action groups. We have launched this challenge to our 53 members. In the first half of 2015, we had the contributions of 24 local development associations based on their local meetings, territorial diagnosis and SWOT analysis representing all Portugal's mainland and the Azores and Madeira archipelagos. Instead of one national champion, we had 24 local champions, as you may see in the red dots. With over 4,000 participants in more than 160 meetings and workshops organized locally, it was possible to achieve the bottom-up cascade of ideas proposed as a methodology for the European Rural Parliament and ensure the involvement of rural communities. Among these, 41% of the participants were women. The institutions represented were 40% from the social economy, 35% from local public sector, and 25% from local enterprises. Additionally, in order to broaden participation to other organizations and persons, strengthening national vision on the reality of rural territories and communities in Portugal, it was built and published an online questionnaire which had about 50 responses. The first question we wanted to answer was, what are the major concerns expressed by rural people? Demographic dynamics and social issues in a broad sense were the two big domains that covered the main concerns in most of the country. Regarding demographic, the main topics in most rural areas are the low birth rate, rural exodus, and consequently loss of population, depopulation, and aging population. Under the big umbrella of social issues, unemployment, as well as the difficulty to create new jobs, is also a major concern for rural areas. Associated with unemployment problem also appears poverty and social exclusion, especially in young people, elderly people, and families where several members of the same family lost their jobs. The two other major themes highlighted in terms of concerns were low human capital, both by the failure of vocational training, high levels of illiteracy due to early school leaving, and the fact that the most qualified young people leave the rural communities, and the fragile local entrepreneurship and business due to the weakness of local economic tissue based mainly on low added value activities and lower comparison of innovation and knowledge. This is aggravated by the difficulties in bank assessing, financing, and lack of mechanisms for the launch of new business and an experimental basis, which contributes to difficulty in attracting and retaining new investments. At the regional level, in rural areas of the Atlantic archipelagos of Madeira, next to Africa, and Azores, halfway to the USA, stand out specific concerns in terms of double periphery, small size and fragmentation of the regional markets, costs associated with mobility of people and goods. In Madeira, this is aggravated with the impact of financial crisis and the reduction of public investment, and in Azores, with the dismantling of the milk quota system. And which are the expectations and aspirations expressed by rural people for the future of their communities? A large set of aspirations contribute to the idea of well-being, improving the quality of life, better life, quiet life, and the hope for a decent future. On how to achieve this well-being, the proposals have clues that point mainly to solving the concerns previously identified, the need for job creation, particularly for young people, and policies that promote the rise of rural population, especially the establishment of youth, and to increase the birth rate, but also to foster participation access to basic local services, and developing initiatives promoting cohesion and social inclusion. Investment attraction and the establishment of companies, particularly to add value to local resources and products, and to create new jobs. When we refer to policies, a general idea is that most of the national public policies are inadequate in relation to the realities and needs of the population and rural communities. When analyzing whether the rural communities' concerns and expectations are considered in the definition of national policies, the general perception is that they are not much considered or that they are not at all considered. However, for its durability, extent, and impacts, it is considered by us appropriate to highlight the work of local development associations that in the last 25 years have implemented local development strategies structured by place-based partnerships. The work of these partnerships has been largely structured by programmatic and methodological framework of leader, and that means territory, participation, partnership, integration, decentralization, innovation, and cooperation, and covers several areas: support to local economies, qualification and training, equality, citizenship and territorial cohesion, proximity services and local associations, rural heritage, and territorial cooperation. Considering the experience of local development associations and our own experience as a national network, and being the only EU case study in this session, some notes on the evolution of decentralized, integrated territorial rural policies should be mentioned and at least questioned. When you analyze the evolution, one of the most charismatic EU policies for rural areas, the LEADER program, even if you consider the jump from LEADER 1 to LEADER 2 positive in terms of guidelines and networking, since LEADER 2, the evolution has been quite negative. In recent times, LEADER faced two major traps in Portugal, and I believe that it is similar in other EU countries. The first one was the mainstreaming trap, and the second one that we are living now is the multi-fund trap and the implementation of CLLD. In both cases, leader lovers and leader practitioners start to be his defenders, and now they are at least apprehensive. In both cases, the leader method should be capable to contaminate first the rural development programs in the transition from Leader Plus to the 2007-2030 programming period. And now it is supposed to contaminate other funds through the multi-funded local development strategies. But we already know how the mainstreaming process ended in terms of losing autonomy and flexibility to territorial adjustment of the strategies, increasing the amount of bureaucracy and paperwork, compromising the territorial animation, which was one of leaders' distinctive characteristics, avoiding risks, which means reducing the innovative nature of the project supported, and specificity of leader was crushed by the general rules. The present challenge is to avoid the multi-fund trap and to contribute to the design of a really integrated and participatory territorial rural policy with a relevant financial expression, with an adequate monitoring and evaluation system with specific indicators, recognized both by the local rural communities, by the EU level, but also by the member state level in a vertical partnership based on trust to the well-being of the rural communities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luis. And that was an analysis, a general analysis of where LEADER has gone, where it started, where it has gone, and what it means in a concrete case like Portugal. And I think we have enough material for discussion. What do we want to do this morning still? We want to warm up for the final round of discussing the manifesto. We do not want this morning to really go into details. That's for the afternoon. In the afternoon, we will look at the text and we will check whether what we've discussed this morning still should perhaps be considered when we adopt the final version. But I would like to invite you, because we have now access to that final document on our website. You can download it from the website of the European Rural Parliament. So if you wish, you can already have a look at that final version and make thoughts about it. But now we would like to make a short explanation of how we want to work with Michael and with Vanessa, how we want to work with the manifesto, and why it's important that you participate in our general evaluation of this event. So Michael and Vanessa, would you please come up and explain it? And after that, we have a short coffee break. And then we will have this general discussion, including the 3 contributions we've had this morning, and we invite another 3 people to participate in the discussion, but that's for after the coffee break. So Vanessa and Michael, would you please come up? No, I would like to have you back then. No, I would like to have you back after the coffee break. Is that okay? Yeah, now you can move out if you wish, yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Vanessa's coming. Bless you. sit for a moment and I'll hand it over to you. I hope I've got this, have I, on the screen? Can I get it onto the screen? It isn't on the screen now. The bad news is that you didn't receive, as we intended, with trumpets on the cruise, you didn't receive the text. For the simple reason that the wonderful team of rapporteurs who joined me and Vanessa for the debriefing session had so much lovely stuff coming from all the participants in the working groups that we didn't get the amendment done in time to come and catch the bus with you. So after I'd had a main course, I went down and with Hannes's help did what I could to incorporate everything that we'd been told. So you didn't get the text as I'd hoped. The good news is that you didn't have to work all night reading it. We do have a text. It doesn't incorporate everything that the rapporteurs pressed on us, because it would have been 8 pages long had we done so. But we have produced a text, and this afternoon we will scroll through it together. But the purpose of this brief talk is to say what we're going to do afterwards. Could you scroll down, Vanessa, kindly, to the first set of blobs? That's right. So what we're going to do to launch this, we expect to publish, if we have the technical wherewithal, we will publish tomorrow a press release which follows up the press release that you all saw, I hope, a week before this event, highlighting the key points. I'm going to probably resist putting into that the plea from Macedonia to be called Macedonia, but I've got that message. Then we expect to have a meeting, possibly more than one meeting, in Brussels with leading figures in the European institutions, and I was very grateful to hear from Tom Jones, who will be speaking briefly this afternoon on behalf of ECOSOC, that perhaps we might even hold such a meeting in their premises. We expect to make a submission to the Council of Europe in Strasbourg. You saw that we have the patronage of the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, and since we're concerned with a much wider range of countries than the European Union, that will be important too. And we then hope that the national champions will hold a series of matching meetings and briefings and releases of the manifesto and the press release and so on in their own countries. The press release and the manifesto will be available to the national champions to translate and to elaborate the press release for their own purposes at home, and we hope that the manifesto too will be translated into many languages without change in the wording that you finally approve. Vanessa, please, would you now scroll down to the other set of blobs, which are much later in the paper, towards the end of the paper. This is the paper that we discussed yesterday in a meeting between the steering group and the national champions. And I'm very happy to tell you that we reached consensus among us that as a group of partners, national and European, remembering that almost all of the national partners are already members of one or other, or indeed more than one in many cases, of the 3 European networks. These are the things which we have in mind for the future. That the European Rural Parliament campaign should continue for at least a further 2-year cycle, with a gathering in autumn 2017 as the next climax. And we expect to launch a call for proposals, as we did in July 2014, We expect to launch another one around the turn of the year, probably, into 2016, so that the next host can be found. And we've already had 3 offers from countries, so we know that there are likely to be some competitors, which is a wonderful thing to know. We, the 3 organizations, are willing to continue to provide continuing leadership, working with the team of national champions, and hopefully with a growing team, because there are countries not yet covered by national champions. The campaign will have elements both European and national. The national partners will pursue campaigns in their own countries with their own ideas, their own timing, their own funds, but which meet their own national purposes, but which also hopefully will contribute to the collective European activity. We will pursue with support, as they wish, from the national champions, those elements of action which relate to the European dimensions of the campaign. For example, if you pass it this afternoon, the call for a review of the condition of the state of rural areas throughout Europe, or the idea of seeking a mainstream policy for small towns. The campaign will have a biennial rhythm. Somewhere I've got a diagram of it rather like a suspension bridge, with each major event being the pillar of the bridge and the wires running up to the event and then away in campaigning from that event. Seen in that approach, in that overall framework, just as the Swedish Rural Parliament is simply a 2-year climax of the activity of Hela Sferiga Skarleva, or the MAPEV is the 2-year climax of the work of Kodukant in Estonia. Similarly, the biennial Rural Parliament would be a climactic point in continuing activity, campaigning at the European level and at the national level. We aim that the gathering, I'm now on point H, that the gathering would be each time in a different place, and I'm sure that from the offers we're already beginning to receive, that we will manage to achieve that. We've been extraordinarily fortunate to be here in Austria for this event, with the extraordinary support that Thomas and his team managed to generate. There could be other international events within the 2-year program, and one of the key ideas we're already being offered is indeed a European Rural Youth Parliament, or meetings in Brussels and so on. Finally, this year's experience suggests that we should start planning now. It took us 16 months altogether, this event, and on a biennial rhythm that suggests that we'll need to get going in the spring of next year. At the bottom is something that I don't want to trouble you particularly with at the moment, but to face the hard reality that this all demands money. The actual money that flowed through our hands, or those of Thomas this time, it may interest you, was 155,000 euros. That made this great event possible, but only because a massive amount of voluntary effort was put in by many people. In truth, I would reckon you would need to at least double that money in order to organize the thing without that excessive call on voluntary effort. So we will be facing collectively, we and the national champions will be facing a significant issue of fundraising, but that won't prevent us moving away from the pillar of the suspension bridge down into the action program over the coming weeks and months with your good support and your active involvement in your own countries. I hand over to Vanessa.
All I'm going to mention now, and I'll mention it later in the day as well, is about the feedback and evaluation for this event. As Michael said, it's been a huge amount of work. It's been an experiment, and we will only learn from you as to how successful that experiment has been and how we could improve on it. So in the normal fashion, you've got an evaluation form in your pack. I would like to ask everybody between now and the end of today to complete that. It's asking for some quite thoughtful comments, and to leave it either on the reception desk or here on the stage. We'll try to find a box to put them into before you leave. I know that when people go home, these things get forgotten about. We will also email it to you after the event, so after you've had time to reflect, you might want to add other comments or some more substantive ideas. But we would appreciate it if you would attempt to fill it out while you're still here and leave it with us. And please be very, very honest, because that's the only way we're going to learn and how to perfect this process in future successive European Royal Parliaments. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dennis.
So now it's time for coffee break, and I would like to have you back, if possible, 5 minutes to 11 here, and then we will have a second round of discussion. Thanks.
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody. I think we are all there and we can start. Almost. Anaid, is Anaid in the room? Is she outside? Can somebody get her in? So, could you please all come in that we can start again? And the photo shooting session will be over soon. Thank you. Okay.
Grand news. We got just informed that Munich airport is excluded from strike.
Ah.
You can only have problems if you have connection flights from Frankfurt or Düsseldorf.
So, everything is changed now? Could you please all come in? There is some good news. We start with some good news. Anaid, would you come? Anaid, would you come up please too? So, yes, of course. Yes. So, first of all, the good news. Apparently, Munich airport is excluded from the strike. So, whoever has a direct flight from Munich airport will not have problems. But if you have a flight which goes then to other parts of Germany where the strike is on, for instance, Frankfurt or whatever, then you might have problems later. So, the first good news, Munich is excluded. If you have a direct flight to your home from Munich, then there should be no problems. But this doesn't change in principle the announcement that Thomas made about arrangements which need to be made for shuttles and so on. So, we are entering into our second part of the morning session, and as we didn't really have the time for questions and discussion, we would like to have our people that intervened this morning present on scene, and we've added 3 other people. It's Tom Jones, who is the rapporteur in the Economic and Social Committee in Brussels for a report on rural development. And Michael mentioned that earlier. He considers to help us possibly in the action we want to take after this meeting in making it known in Brussels and in possibly using also your support and facilities to get the message across. Thank you, Tom, for being with us. And then there's Pedro. Some of you know him, perhaps almost everybody. He has been in the Commission for a long time, also working on rural development, and was the leader, the facilitator of the working group on refugees. So as this is a burning, the rapporteur of the working group working on refugees issues. And then there's Juliette Maillot from the United States, from IETP, the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy. And she has been, earlier Michael mentioned that, at a meeting of people working on rural development in the United States, and we would like to include these three persons in the debate, and we would then channel your questions on these specific issues, international context in which we work, the possibility of getting our message across through the European institutions with Tom and with Pedro to discuss issues related to the refugees questions. But please, now we have the floor open for your questions and comments. There will be microphones everywhere. Wherever you want to speak, you can speak. There will be people ready to help you in. And I would like to open the floor for questions or remarks. You remember when Michael spoke, he spoke about actions to be taken after this event. I think that's a very important focus, that we have a nice gathering, but we know we all go back to our usual work. What can we do in terms of preparing for a next gathering if we want to do it in 2 years? What do we do during, Michael mentioned the suspension bridge, during the period when we prepare for the next gathering? What do we do? What do we want to do on the national level? But I don't want to reduce it to these questions. Michael presented it just to keep in mind that after the game is preparation for the next game. Coffee break was good. Yes. Please, would you, yeah, there's a microphone coming. Would you stand up so everybody can see you and just shortly say who we are?
Good morning, my name is Yula, I come from Cyprus. We are representing the European Rural Parliament in Cyprus, thanks to Michael. Congratulations to the 3 speakers of this morning. They were amazing, very motivational, excellent practices that we can do in our countries. What I would suggest for the next days to see the synergies and ways of cooperating together on European funded programs, especially with the Balkans and Macedonia. Now Cyprus is eligible to take place in these projects as well. So I'm inviting all of you to cooperate with us. And it will be good if we keep some records saying that we have met in this place, this time, because of Michael, and then record all the success in our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to intervene? Not the case for the moment. Yes. Please.
Just to warm people up, thank you very much. I'm Mindaugas Maciulevičius. I'm coming from Lithuania. I'm also a member of European Economic and Social Committee. And first of all, thank you very much to all our Austrian colleagues and organizers, and also people who organized from all the main organizations this event, which is really good and beneficial. And just to follow up exactly, one thing is the manifesto, which is brilliant and it reads very nice, and there is a way to present it to the institutions. But the most beautiful part in that manifesto, and I would just put the very direct attention of everyone over here, is that we are calling ourselves to act as a rural communities, because we have duties to play, and this is something that sometimes we are forgetting, that if we are going to be active, we'll achieve something in our spirits and our kind of energy in demanding, but also making that progress ourselves in our villages, helping farmers, helping businesses, shopping in our towns, not going to supermarkets. So it's something very important that we all bring that message back, that it's not about the policymakers. It's not only about the policymakers. Of course, the policy is very important, but it's also about our own behavior, our own heads. So thank you very much, and we can read that in Manifesto very clearly. So it was well noted, and thank you for that.
Thank you very much. So this remark is for calling for action and interpreting and using the Manifesto, and not only adopting it and then being happy about it, but rather to see how we want to apply it in our daily life. That's very good. I had another remark there. Yes, please. And there should be the next microphone.
Britt-Marie Torstensson, Visit Sweden organization, a women in network, and also a member of the Whole Sweden Should Live movement in Sweden. And I think, thank you for the good and excellent arrangement for this rural parliament. today. And I also would like to add to the manifesto, of course, that it should include women and men's equal right on equal conditions. I say gender equality issues need to be in the manifesto, very clearly spoke out. And I think that it was in all parts of the manifesto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next, there, yes, please.
I want to thank everybody for coming and sharing their wisdom and ideas. And thanks very much for...
Shortly who you are.
Okay.
Just remind us, please.
I'm Mark Petz, and I'm from Boku in Wien, and also give Rural Lab. So I want to say thank you very much for all the efforts people have put towards this manifesto. I hope it leads to concrete actions, and something I would like to see very much coming out of this rural parliament is that we have a rural youth European parliament, which would be a parallel thing. I would like to see very clear links between that parliament and this parliament. And I think after this, it would be good to have an action group, not just a working group, if you like, that will start to pull together practicalities for making that happen so it will be part of the process. I've had some conversations with people about that. So Wales and Finnish colleagues, thank you very much. They're very supportive. We have some ideas, possible places where we might hold it, but I need this to, and I would like everybody else to support this to be part of an actual process. So thank you.
Thank you. Sounds that you have to leave, is that the case? No, this is not the final round, huh? This is not the final round yet to thank each other. We have the afternoon still to go for that. But do also think in terms of questions you have or any comments you have on what has been said in the first morning session. So that would be good that we get some kind of discussion with the people that are on stage. Yes, please.
Good morning, bonjour, hello, hey. Keith Harrison, I'm part of the English delegation, and my day job is the Chief Executive of one of England's 38 rural community councils, as well as being a LAG chair in the World of Leader. I'm going to ask a question for you to answer in a moment. And the question I want to ask is about the multi-funded approach that's being introduced, or the aim and ambition to have multi-funded approaches in rural development. In England, our network, the RCC network, ACRE network, is effectively a mainstreamed, privatised, socially entrepreneurial version of that. We work probably with, in the RCC I work with about 40 different funds, but they're tiny. It's about £500,000 a year, so what, €600,000 turnover a year. Leaders yet to get to that stage in the UK, and what I'd like to know is what you think the main challenges are going to be in a multi-funded approach, Sue Leader, and how they might be overcome.
Was that a question to Luis?
Yes, but if any of the rest of the panel wish to answer it, I'm happy to hear them and not hold them to account at all.
Very good, very good. I take another 2 or 3, and then I would like to have perhaps comments from the stage. Yes? Yes? Yes, you.
I have a question to one of the panelists, Tom Jones. I know that you have done work about the different programs in European Union, and I want to hear your comments about where you have a lack of goodwill, or how the situation is more generally about the different programs for rural development.
Thank you, Staffan. There's another. Do you have? I didn't see. Oh yes, please, please. And then towards the back.
I'm Panagiotis Papadopoulos from the European Rural Parliament in Cyprus. For sure that the gentlemen and the ladies over there present was one of the best practices, but I think that something which our colleague said before about the European Rural Parliament, which it was something that comes today, I will support that, and I believe that it's the best idea to come this together. And the first and maybe the best example of all these couple of days we saw here, it was the implementation in this process, all these youngsters which serving us around in different ways, and I believe that their implementation in this European Rural Parliament was the best for them, a part of the 3 days off they will have at the end of the day. But being with us all the day and show them that they was taking part in these workshops, and they hear and they writing down, and they was participating. I believe that this it's how I could say a proof that we have to go on with this European Rural youth parliament, because it's something which is demanding.
Thank you very much. That's an applause to all the young people that have helped us, especially also those who've done it. The next is Kim up there.
Yes, hello, my name is Kim, I come from Finland. So the story of the Rural Parliament is a story about people, it's a story about civil society. And it has started from single countries and it has been developed now to European movements, so to say. And we have made a big effort and the Swedish, thank you, down there, to start this European Rural Parliament process. And now we're at the second stage, and hopefully it will be the third stage will be an action-based ERP movement. So my point is that the civil society, the people, and all these participants and national coordinators have made a big effort to come to this point, and we are willing to commit ourselves in the future also. Now I will have to ask also from the other side, what kind of possibilities, commitments we could perhaps get from national governments, networks, and the European institutions to support this movement also. We have done a big effort, and I would like to expect also some kind of answer from the other side. Thank you.
Thank you. When you mean the other side, you mean government support on the national level? Did they understand that well? That we should communicate that better, that they understand that it's worth investing? Yes, go ahead.
And the EU institutions also,
all right,
to better support this movement.
Thank you. Thank you. One more, and then I would like to give this stage some opportunity to intervene. Yes?
Okay, I'm Alistair Pryor from the Scottish Rural Network Support Unit. I love the Armenian presentation, and I think the participation of young people in the rural development agenda is really important, but they also need to have ownership of the agenda, and I think that's what I'm hearing today. I think that's really important, and we'll certainly take that back. Lewis, your presentation touched on the challenges of CLLD, mainstreaming in the last programming period, CLLD in this programming period. What do we do in preparation for the next programming period? My sense from the manifesto as currently drafted is that it doesn't help us doesn't give us the space to think about the challenges post-2020. So I just leave it sitting there in terms of maybe your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much. So whoever wants to intervene first, please go ahead. Luis, do you feel the one to answer the two questions? The most precise questions, I think, went to you. Do you want to intervene? Yeah? Do we have a micro here?
Yeah. I don't want to take too much time, but maybe I will take 1 or 2 minutes to explain what really happened with this multi-fund CLLD in Portugal. In fact, we are hoping to get real integrated strategies. And to get there, we had to, before, have the articulation of the several parts of the administration that are managing these different funds. For example, the Rural Development Fund is managed at national level. We have only one rural development program for the whole mainland. But European Social Fund and Regional Fund, the part that will be allocated to CLLD, are managed at regional level. So we have, in the mainland, 5 regional development commissions that are dealing with these funds. And we also have the Fisheries Fund, also managed at national level, in the same ministry of the Rural Development Fund, but in a different Director General that usually don't talk a lot with the rural development people. So, in the end, we had the so-called multi-funded strategies that are sticked lines, sticked top-down guidelines from these different management authorities. We know from our past experience, local development associations are used to do the articulation at local level, but we expected that this time it could be different. The strategies could really be articulated. We could maybe, when we are thinking in a rural tourism project, a farmer doing a rural tourism, if this farmer needs some training, we could put it in the same project with European Social Fund funding the training and the investments being funded by the Rural Fund or even the Regional Fund. We cannot do this. We have straight lines from top down. And with this idea of multi-funded strategies, that was an excuse to the Agriculture Ministry to put an extreme agricultural focus on the leader part of the strategy. So, and depending on the regions, the mainly focus on the other funds is unemployment, and it's okay. But depending on the regions, in some regions, the other funds have just a narrow window to operate and support projects. That's why I called the multi-fund trap. It's not real multi-funded strategies. Well, in the end, it will be 3 or 4 different funds in that strategy, but there is not real integrated approach. Alistair, I don't know if, maybe the manifesto has to have all the challenges inside of it. We know that we have other European forums to deepen these questions to the preparation of. I also think that European level networks can articulate better besides this manifesto and this European Rural Parliament process. We know that in ELARD we are worried with the preparation of the next European programming period, and we are trying and will try to put some of our thoughts on the preparation of it and to overcome some of the difficulties that we are facing now. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. I think this is an extremely important point because there were good intentions, I suppose, in matching funds and bringing funds together in order to support things that need support from different angles, but not all good intentions always have the good effect. And I think we need this debate very strongly because you've mentioned it earlier. LEADER was a top-down, then bottom-up approach, and at the beginning it was a very, very mobilizing method. And the member states and their authorities discovered that they lost control in a certain way of what was happening and lost also control over funds. And so step by step that was taken back. So we are now in a phase where you can criticize LEADER, although in principle LEADER is a good approach. So I think that debate is very necessary when we move on in the next years towards the next reform. And when we get a new discussion about whether these programs are successful or are really achieving what they pretend to achieve. Thank you very much. I think that is an important point to keep in our memories to deal with this and to follow what happens really in the rural development programs. I think also, Paul, I don't know where you are, somewhere there, yes. So I think that for the European Rural Network, it's very important that we have this debate very closely, and you asked us to think in terms of action, and action can be also communicating this, exactly what is happening in reality, to do the reality check with the programs, and then to communicate that back. All right, I think the next, yes, please. Yes, please intervene.
Thank you. I want to touch a similar question in the same I don't know the English name, in the same area. Very often, especially, in countries like Armenia, we do have donors coming with different ideas, different intervention plan programs, and they all go to the same community, let's say. What I noticed and what I have been fighting for last 20 years probably is that donors need to be a little bit educated in order to coordinate with each other. And on my experience, I show that, excuse me, but their arrogance is so high that sometimes when you go and say, you know what, we started this project 2 years ago and we are doing this way, so if you come, let's say we are giving cows, yeah, with the passing on the gift principle, but they are bringing and coming and bringing, let's say, 2 cows per family without any commitment, any obligation. So the dignity issue is here. Everything, they are ruining different program, you know. So I raised this issue during the European Development Days in Warsaw last time, and this is real problem. The donors' harmonization of their relationships. And finally, I think I failed in this because in my program also, let's say USAID require one thing, I'm going, but IFAD is doing the same thing and they don't want to coordinate. Let's say irrigation, I will do this part, you can do that part, no. So no dialogue between donor agencies themselves. So my proposal was, and here also I think it will be relevant, to strengthen the rural community capacity to take over the responsibility of what is going on in their own communities, because especially in poor countries like ours, the community cannot say no to the donor, but if they show that they understand, they want a donor to be, so you understand, yeah, my point. So this is very, very crucial because it relates also to wasting of money. Sometimes I told people that, you know, I care more about taxpayers in US and EU than your own organizations. So everything needs to be coordinated. And I think national government, excuse me, is not very good coordinating this. They have their own agenda. So we need to strengthen the capacity to educate and probably build the dignity in the community leadership so that they will take over this, control and responsibility on the resources coming. And also I think multi-funded, this approach is not a bad thing in terms of diversification of income. But as I said in my presentation, the core should be having at least some minimum of your own funds that will allow you to maneuver, to make some decisions, you know, to be more free in making your decisions.
Thank you. Thank you, Anait. Educating and capacity building of donors, that's a great idea. That's a good action point. And we could really think of how could we bring donors together, funders together, and discuss certain points which we have raised and identified. That could be a good action point. Governments tend in Europe to think more and more nationally, right? And the scope that was offered at the last CAP reform to adapt to the needs of national governments and more ignore what had been agreed upon on a European level, that trend needs to be reversed because we want it as a European approach to rural development and not as a national way of interpretation. So what Luis said, in a sense, is the interpretation of Portugal. Other countries have done different things. So in principle, I wouldn't say the functional approach is a bad one, but we have to have, of course, an eye on it. Tom, you wanted to intervene, please.
But just very briefly on the multi-funding one, I suppose the first point to make is that it's the auditors silly. In other words, unless auditors buy into outcomes which are general and holistic, they will always be threatening governments and the Commission and looking at the minutiae of the expenditure, and that therefore makes it very difficult for any organizations to work together. So the educating is not just of donors, but of the auditors who might say one thing one day, that they're looking for real long-term benefits, but actually when they start looking at the information, they want the minutiae, and it makes it very difficult. I'd like to answer Staffan's request. I'm here because I'm a member of the European Economic and Social Committee, which most of you will understand is a facilitating statutory body, long-standing in Brussels. One of its main roles is to facilitate, to help civil society be heard, properly in other European and national government institutions. And we've written a report, a rough and ready report, I admit, on the current rural development programme. Now, the programme is not the be-all and end-all of rural needs and rural policy, but it's one of the main funding outcomes. And as Michal Dumitru said yesterday, it's a significant amount of funds which attracts co-funding from governments and obviously a lot of business and voluntary sector inputs as well. So it's a significant amount of taxpayers' investment, and therefore it has to be scrutinized for genuine, real outcomes. In my opinion, my colleague's opinion, very, very briefly, we make three quite significant observations. The first is that yes, the staff of the Commission and national governments and of the organisations who've been consulted have worked very, very hard to get this programme in place, but it's not in a very good place. And the test for me is if I was a 16 or 17-year-old young person living in any rural area within the European Union this summer and having to make a decision as to whether I would be able to stay in my rural community and contribute to it or not, the delay that has existed over the last 6 to 12 months has actually been a very costly delay. So despite good efforts by staff and so on, the implications for another generation of young people is significant, and we should always remember that. And we say to the Commission and national governments, for goodness sake, when the next programme comes around, make sure that you've got everything in place, because the second point we make is that this rural development programme actually accentuates the disparity between regions. It does not provide for cohesion as it now stands, because the better regions, the more dynamic regions, the regions with structures in place which are long established, are up and running and able to spend and to continue improving their rural areas. Whereas the more deprived areas, the more remote areas, mountains and so on, have yet to start their programs. So they will, again, before they know it, the program will be coming to an end. And in the most disadvantaged areas, a 6-year program is nothing like as long enough and intensive enough to make the real differences. So that's our second observation. There has to be better cohesion within the program and a lot of mentoring, a lot of challenges for universities and other players to work with not just their local communities but with the other communities as well. The third and my final point, if I may, is the so-called partnership agreements are not working properly. It's obviously a work in progress, in the same way as this participative parliament is a work in progress. It's involved terrific work, and it's been a great source of pride to me to be here to see a definitive end point for the time being in the preparation of the manifesto. But the partnership agreements have not been there fully implemented, and it's up to the Commission and member states to actually be more strict on this. Consultation seems to end at the beginning and not to be continuous. Participation is different to consultation. It was easy enough to arrange for stakeholders to become involved at the beginning of the process and draw up a wish list of things they would like to see money's being spent on. But then, of course, civil servants went away, and it's only really when they apportion the funding for that long wish list that makes the real difference. If you put 80 or 90% of the budget into agri-environment schemes, for example, then you only have 10 or 15% of your budget left on entrepreneurism and creating jobs. So that's the continuous relationship that should exist. CLLD and the partnership agreements should be there throughout the programme, not just at the beginning of the programme. And the monitoring committees have a significant role to play. They should be transparent, they should be more accountable, they should have much more information at their disposal so they can actually challenge and question. And the end bit of our report currently is we would like to come back in 2017, 2018 and ask of the Commission, is this programme actually achieving the real targets it sets out to do? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive, Tom. That was very useful. So I hear three things. The Economic and Social Committee, with its report, is a good reference for us to continue our discussion. So we are happy to accept your invitation to interpret together with you what the rural development programs are going to. I think you, as ECOSOC, you've always been a kind of bridge builder. That's your function between civil society, be it formal, be it informal civil society, and the institutions. So we are well placed to communicate through you and use your facilities. Timely decision making, very important point. I mean, if we get late, then everything gets late and everybody gets frustrated. That's a very important point. No cohesion, well, we know that since a long time between different policies and different programs and financing mechanisms. And the third one, partnership. There is more to partnership than just claiming it. There is much more space in order to develop that between the official side and the non-official side. Thank you very much for that contribution. So, Radim, you wanted to intervene here.
Okay, I just wanted to say two things. One of them is that we are missing Georgia here, but thanks to European program NPART, we have just launched 3 pilot local action groups in Georgia with Scottish partners and with Spanish partners. And last week we spent very nice time in the region of Kazbegi on the border with Russia, and in the region of 5,000 people, 200 of them came for the community planning for 2 days, one after another. It was amazing, having great ideas, and also looking to Europe very much, you know. And here I should share, and they know about this parliament, and they send many greetings, all the people from rural Georgia. But I'm coming to the point which our Armenian friend said. The coordination of the donors, it's really crazy. We came to the region where there is German foundation which is giving money to people on the street in cash without any control for the projects, you know. And now we come that we want the control projects, we want control on how the money are going. And they're saying, why? You know, there was a European Union, they do not know that it's some private foundation. And also the coordination, we have 3 pilot regions and everyone has different approach. And I won't even mention that one of the partners, they want to make a call in leader without the strategy being finished. You know, so sometimes also we are doing bad things because of the pressure that the people want the money, but we are damaging the process. So please, in case any one of you, because I know there should be also a call for Armenia, similar one to Georgia, we are now having real 3 pilot local action groups which are also in media, very much attention of media. So in case we do something, please try to take the principles as we know them, because if we simplify them too much and we try to be under pressure, so it's not good. And this is coming to multi-fund. The second issue, Czech Republic is one of the examples where real multi-fund will be used. From the rural development program, we have just 20% of allocation, 60% is coming from the regional development fund. And what is coming to my mind is that everywhere in our life we have to face the intersection between bottom-up and top-down principle, even in the family, everywhere. And here we should look about leader probably like really about principle, not just a program and finances from European Union. And what we try in the Czech Republic is that also national resources and national funds are distributed through the local action groups, because this is what matches to the strategy, you know, because we have a strategy and we don't mind, the people do not mind if it is from national money or for European money. And it's really, it's possible to communicate with the government that we can match it in this way. They give the national money. Or the second thing is that, for example, in our case, local action groups have in many cases just an animation role, like we are now building strategies for the schools and for education, which are financed then from the national operation or from the operational programs, not through LEADER or CLLD, but we do the role of animation. And I am a mayor, and if I speak to other mayors, they feel that local action group is also a very important platform of communication between the municipalities and between the stakeholders. Maybe not sometime seeing just the money behind it, but also this sort of communication. So that's what also in Georgia we are building strategy for 5 years, although the program is just for 2.5 years. And we now know that the people who are from Georgia and who are outside Georgia, like in Europe, they want to send their money to the strategy. So, you know, they have also a new body which is called like people affiliated with the region but living somewhere else, and they want to send money as like donors. And it's fascinating that the people feel like so connected with the region, and they want to help also in this way. And we really want so that the second 2.5 years are funded with different funding because they have to find out that they have to find for resources, of course. And this is just the beginning, what we can give them through small grants, but we have to learn them the method. And also, they are now building the rural development program in Georgia. They are asking everyone, I know now they are in Slovenia for a study tour, how to build it. And this is what we also should do, like prepare LR and ERCA to help them to omit the mistakes we made and to really help them with building up through rural development programs which work.
Thank you very much, Radim. That was a good view towards Georgia and the examples of how investments can be better channeled, remittances, how they can be better used in a context in which people really want to see it happen. So you had a remark, so the microphone can stay here. Any more?
Thank you. Mark Shucksmith from England. First, I want to celebrate this tremendously inspirational and innovative gathering of the European Rural Parliament. One of the most important things about this, I think, is the partnership between civil society and governments, which we're talking about this morning. And I just wanted to look at the two sides, not the two sides of civil society and government, but the two levels on which this must work. On the one hand, it's really important that governments, the European Commission and the member states have and recognize their important role in supporting and enabling action at the local level. I think we're all recognizing that. And it's very, very important because without that support, you only have the most active, the most capable places who are taking the initiative, and you get growing inequality between places, working against territorial cohesion. But there is a second aspect to this, and this is why it's so important that we're here, because many of the processes which affect people in rural Europe are operating not at the local level, but at higher scales. There are processes of globalization, of the Eurozone, of migration. Many of these are beyond the control of people in their local places. So it's really important that we come together as a social movement at the European level in a parliament like this, so that we can call for action also at those higher levels. Action in terms of rural-proofing European and national policies, action in terms of policies which address the processes which cause inequality between places and which limit the action of people in places. So I think the European Rural Parliament is not only important for what we take back to our own local groups, but it is also important because it enables civil society to organize at that higher spatial level and to call for action at that higher spatial level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We have Iceland. We move further west.
Thank you. We are on the fringe of Europe, but we are looking at Europe enthusiastically. This month there will be a great and important conference in Paris about the climate changes. And in our century we will have the inevitable change of energy sources. So my questions would be, especially for Juliet, comes from America and has perhaps a broader overview than we here in Europe. How do you see the effects of this on the rural areas of Europe and America and other continents compared to the urban areas? And secondly, because you are the president of Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, can it be sustained as it is, this huge support for small farms in Europe, perhaps other farms in United States and America, can it be sustained in context to the international effect on the developing nations south of the Mediterranean, which are deeply in need for better trade policy? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goran, would you allow that I refer direct to Juliette, because that was a perfect co-moderation. Thank you very much. I had the intention to move again back to the panel, and that was a good question to Juliette. So as you've seen, we are not only looking to a broader Europe and a broader way of working together in Europe, but also on the international level. That question, I think, gives you an opportunity to address us with your thoughts about possible future cooperation, also with people in the United States.
Thank you. Thank you, Omar. Two very serious questions. In the U.S., I can speak a little bit about what climate change means in the rural areas. Let me give it a little bit of political background. The conversation about climate change has been extremely polarized in the United States, many of you probably know. And it's been polarized along political lines in a very clearly bipartisan way. And because many of the rural communities are very conservative communities, it has long been assumed that people who live in them will have an opinion about climate change that would be to deny its existence, or to feel that it's not something that should be discussed. That's just a kind of political lay of the land. What we've learned over the last probably about 5 years is that rural communities, in fact, are extremely interested in climate change, and they're interested in it because they are already experiencing a lot of the very, very significant impacts of climate change in their communities, and they are disproportionately hit with the problems associated with extreme weather events, with changes in rain patterns, with severe drought. We're experiencing in the western part of the United States an extremely severe drought that is resulting in a lot of fire and, of course, a lot of changes in agricultural practices and agricultural production. For the agricultural section of our rural communities, we are seeing people having to change crop patterns, people having to change complete crops, people having to change their irrigation systems. This is all very costly. But beyond agriculture, we're seeing in rural communities a heightened awareness of the problems with existing infrastructure. And that is from everything from the problem with the level of energy use, a desire to move from very wasteful energy systems to try to contribute to the mitigation of climate change, et cetera, et cetera. We introduced a set of dialogues, and are still doing them, in the United States called the Rural Climate Dialogues, that give people a chance in their communities for a 3-day intensive, moderated conversation about the impacts of climate change in their communities, the impacts of severe weather events in their communities. And what we're finding is a really astounding level of interest of communities who, after 3 days, come together with action plans. In one community, Morris, Minnesota, the community leaders have gotten together with the University of Minnesota to start to implement a whole new energy and infrastructure plan for their towns, for their small town. The high schools are becoming involved in introducing curriculum around climate change. And the students themselves are taking place in energy surveying and infrastructure surveying in their communities. So there's a lot of positive things that are going on coming out of rural communities. In the U.S. context, this is extremely important because it's the rural states at the federal level that have been very reticent to support climate change legislation. In terms of trade, I have to say that when I got back last evening from the wonderful boat ride and delightful conversations at my table with Tom and Brendan Burns and Alistair and everybody, it was a great time. Thank you all. I, as we sometimes are wont to do, went online and checked the news. And very late last night, President Obama gave his approval to the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. That approval does not make the agreement final. There are now 120 days that have to go past where the public is finally able to see what is contained in the agreement, and the Congress is finally able to see what's contained in the agreement. These are highly secretive agreements. And this is an agreement that will pretty much dictate how trade is happening for 40% of the global economy. We still have time to defeat it. I think it is defeatable, and I think that it should be defeated because, no, I don't think these kinds of trade agreements are sustainable, and I don't think that they are working on the behalf of rural communities or on the behalf of really the countries who are signing on to them for many reasons, whether it be labor, whether it be democracy, whether it be openness, whether it be secret, the list is long, and I invite you to come to the IATP site and see more of it, because of course, if the TPP passes, the Trans-Pacific Agreement, the likelihood of the transatlantic trade agreement that is now being negotiated, being passed, goes up. That agreement, we know, has serious implications for agriculture and for farmers in the US and all across Europe. But more than that, and just quickly to your point, Omar, we've also finished another report called TTIP and the Rest of the World. We thought that we were just making a joke when we named the report that, but we realized in the many transatlantic planning and strategy conversations we've had with coalitions and alliances all across Europe and the United States to work together as civil society, Europeans and Americans together as civil society, to really understand and appreciate these agreements. In working on those, we realized that we really didn't have an understanding of what these agreements meant for the rest of the world. What does an agreement between all of Europe and the US mean for the people who aren't part of that agreement? What does it mean for their farmers? What does it mean for their rural communities? And so we've put together that report and we think it's extremely important to situate ourselves in the rest of the world. Just as the National Rural Assembly in the US has put together a compact that doesn't do a very good job of placing themselves in the world, of knowing that US agricultural policies and rural policies are extremely important and have extremely important impacts on the rest of the world. So too, I think the manifesto that we've been looking at doesn't yet quite place Europe in the world, in the rest of the world, and consider what international agreements, even trade agreements, their ability to trump European policy is strong, and I think it's an area that could be articulated a bit further in the manifesto, and probably quite usefully.
Thank you very much, Juliette, for putting us into context. Normally the order, Tom, would be Goran would be first. No, Goran, yes? So your first remark.
Just very, very briefly, and apologies for cutting in, but there is an issue here that the rural parliament will have to be an ongoing gathering of minds to react to new opportunities and challenges. And my colleague Mindaugas there was the rapporteur for an opinion on the impact of climate change on European agriculture a few months ago. And we looked at this in detail. And there is a big issue here for the future of rural areas, that is it going to be a future without the family farm, the sustainable agriculture, the link to added value products that we believe currently underpins any hope of retaining a rural future. Because currently, rural areas depend on cheeses from different areas, meats, national costumes and cultures, and citizens, townspeople being interested in spending time learning more about the countryside that they live within. That's the current balance that we have, which brings lots of jobs into the countryside and sustains what we call the European model of agriculture. These sort of agreements, these massive climate changes, bring some opportunities for farming in terms of renewable energy, etc., but they could also bring an awful lot of change which could undermine all the very valiant efforts that we are currently planning to do through the proposals in this manifesto. So we need to make certain that the European Rural Parliament continuously watches and comes up with ideas to make sure that these changes are balanced. Otherwise, as you've agreed, our rural areas will be totally different in 20, 30 years' time. Sorry for intervening on Catilla.
No, it's all fine. Thank you, Tom. That was directly intervention. So I would like to take Goran first. Is there a microphone for him? He's here in front. And then you.
Yeah, thanks. There are actually two levels, or two different options of this method, which we called European Rural Parliament, or rural parliaments in general. One is that people come together and discuss the topics which are burning topics mostly. And the other is the deeper process hidden behind that. And that is our ambition, that should be our ambition. This is to cause the change in society. So now, there was important message from the yesterday's meeting of the representatives from national champion organizations. Namely, from now on, value of European Rural Parliament depends on the action, on that how much of our agreements, of our manifesto, shall we implement. So that is a very important message, and I think that we should have this in mind for the future, for the next 2 years. This should be now, from now on, our priority. We saw there are different levels of how to implement this. While I was in this previous mandate coordinator of PREPARE, it was a privilege to assist, to help, to be a part of the process, preparation processes and of the events in many rural parliaments, from Scotland to Baltic states, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I've organized 3 rural parliaments in Slovenia. And there is also this booklet which you have seen, some of you, we didn't have enough anymore for everyone. There is a wide range of experiences from that years. Namely, there are 2 extreme situations with rural parliaments. One extreme situation is that the civil society is getting organized, is building very good network, and comes together and express their opinion, their wishes, their needs, challenges, and so on. This is one extreme. Another extreme is that the civil society is looking for the allies in the government, in the parliament, and so on. And then, if this happens, the governments, the state has its own rules. This is not civil society. This is, the rural parliaments are only the bridge from civil society toward the governments. But the general experience from this, observing this all around Europe, is that the outcomes, the results of rural parliaments in those countries which succeeded to build the bridge between governments or parliaments and rural parliaments, so between state and civil society, in those countries, outputs are much bigger. So, if I transform this into our event, our outputs would be much bigger if we would have commissions sitting with us all the time. But the aim of our parliaments was that politicians should sit on the floor to listen what we have to say. So there are only few rural parliaments which reached this level. So all the others, I think we should go toward this goal. This is only the method I'm talking about. So we still have to have in mind that deeper meaning of this, what we are doing, is to cause the social change, to change in society. This is what we want. And to achieve that, we must act. And there are many ways, maybe just to finish so that I'm not too long. In Slovenian case, we had this, at third rural parliament, we had accepted resolution, 2 pages, not general things we said in the beginning. We are not repeating the things which are already written in all regulations and in all agendas and papers. We are just pointing out on few burning points. That was our resolution. And that was a trigger for Slovenian government to take this document on agenda. So they read it through and they were familiar with that. 2 committees of the Slovenian parliament put this topic on agenda. I was rapporteur there, and there were strong commitments from the parliamentarians and from the politicians that they will act on these burning topics which were expressed in the rural parliament. So, just as a case, how far we can reach with our aim to influence the society on the long term if we specify the specific burning points which are much easier from the politician to take on into their agenda, into their action. They need our inputs, but they don't know that they need us, so we have to make them aware. Thanks.
Thank you, Goran. So that's a plea for being short and focused when we approach those who are setting the context in which we then can develop our activities and our action. Thank you very much. Now, next is Boban and then Petri.
Okay, I will just quickly go back to the issues you have raised about climate change and also the trade. As a small region, I mean, we are representing, regarding the trade, we just have to follow. We do have within the Balkans plus Moldova, we do have the CEFTA, Central European Free Trade Agreement, functioning as it is functioning and really bringing the results. Good for the economy in general. It affects the small farms. If you take a regular, assess how it affects the small farms. If you take a regular, figures, everything is growing, trade is growing, money being involved into that is giving the results, but the effects on small farmers is never being assessed. But related to the climate change, Southeastern Europe in general, including the Balkan countries, Greece, Southern Italy, I guess go further also toward Spain, Portugal, the most affected, so to say. And in that sense, in the Balkans, intention is to make an assessment of the current policy. And in that sense, in the Balkans, intention is to make an assessment of the current policy gaps actually, and the recommendations how to fight against that. Not only from the environmental point of view, but actually from the rural development point of view, in a way that we just see that integrated forest management, water management, including the arable land, so to say, land tenure policy, has to be taken into consideration in order to see how those three things interlinked can at least decrease the effects of the climate change. You have been witnessing, or maybe you remember, about the huge floods which affected almost half of the Balkan, 3 countries with even, I mean, human casualties and so on. And we, at least in the Balkans, find ourselves unprepared. So the 3 things, and also what is also very important related to these issues is about the policies of areas with natural constraints. Referring to these former LFA, so to say, areas where, how can I say, other criteria were more important, nowadays we have these 9 biophysical characteristics and criteria for these areas, which are mainly meteorological data involved. The soil data is needed in order to define where these areas are. But what is missing in these criteria is actually for the Southeastern Europe. For the Northern Europe, it is the freezing point. For Southeast Europe, it's actually the days of insolation, the, I don't know, temperature over 40 degrees, I mean, for how long and so on, in order to add up on these criteria. So these things in the Balkans, we are, hopefully we will start doing from, early January next year. And hopefully by the next rural parliament, if there is a technical discussion that we can even report how this part of Europe is actually dealing with that issue.
Thank you, Boman. Petri, is there a microphone up there?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Petri Rinne and I come from southwest of Finland. I'm a LAC manager there, and this very interesting climate change discussion reminded me of our talks yesterday in the migration working group. So first of all, thank you very much for raising this very important topic on the agenda. And I think it's one of the major change factors also affecting our rural communities in Europe. But I think it was Vanessa who said there in our last session that it's also related to climate change, that maybe this exercise that we are now doing is only start and beginning of integrating newcomers to our rural societies, because climate change maybe even more affects people and makes them on the move. So let's take this exercise seriously.
Thank you, Petri. I cannot see you. The Finnish sun is so extremely strong. I couldn't identify. Sorry for only identifying you very late. But you have done a wonderful co-moderation. You didn't know, because I wanted to give the word to Pedro, who was the rapporteur of the working group on refugees. And perhaps you could you hand over the micro to him? I don't know who has the last. Would you give us a little input from your report? We have it partly in the manifesto, but perhaps things should be mentioned now, which we haven't discussed yet. So yours the floor.
Yes, of course.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, even without a question from the audience. Our working groups yesterday, which were supposed to also talk about newcomers in rural areas in general and migrants, was of course very much focused on the refugee topic. And it was for me, as someone who is living now in Germany, and one of the countries which is, let's say, most affected by this flux of refugees, which is, let's say, not under control, and no one knows exactly how long it will take. It was good to sit together with people from so many different corners of Europe. Yeah, we had a colleague from Turkey. We hear a lot about Turkey and about the Syrian refugees and about their situation there. And we had people from Germany and Austria, a lady that was invited here by Thomas Müller on the request, I think, of Michael, who works with refugees in an NGO. She's managing an accommodation in a rural area for 55 refugees, which is a rural tourism that had a little bit of problems and which this NGO could actually use. And it was a fantastic story how this works and how they manage that the local population works with them. But then there were other voices in the group, also from Austria and Germany, who said, yes, but these are maybe lighthouses. These are examples which, let's say, in general are not really applicable. And then we could hear from colleagues like Boban. Thank you very much, Boban, for the words from this morning. I think they were very important. Countries where this flux only goes through and who have a completely different perception. There was a colleague from Slovenia also. Slovenia had suddenly, almost, I think, 1 million migrants going through their small country of 3 million inhabitants. And there it's not about integrating them or welcoming them. It's just a question also of understanding why this is all happening and why, let's say, the governments and the European Union cannot do more in order to get a bit of order into this process. But after all, and then concretely working on this paragraph for the Rural Manifesto, we thought it's probably not good. We also had Stefan Nilsson saying that, I think, was very important, because I was a bit confused. I think, how can we tackle this subject here with so many different people? We should say something on how rural areas, how the locals, the rural society really wants to deal with this, and how and that they are ready to do it and to be part of, let's say, an integration process in those countries that are affected by this migratory flux. So this is very important in the manifestos, to show to the outside world that rural areas are ready to help there, despite, of course, some maybe partly xenophobic, sometimes even attitudes motivated by not knowing what this could mean and what this is all about, because if you never had migrants in your community, then you don't know what it is about. But this integration process is a long-term integration process. It's a bit like the climate change. It will follow us for many years. Last but not least, I would also like to say something about the situation in Greece and the island of Lesbos. That also to say that here in the north of Germany we are not forgetting also the situation and how difficult it is for a country like Greece and for the local population to deal with this. It's even probably much more difficult than in Austria and in Germany.
Thank you very much, Pedro. We are getting towards the end of this session. I have one more. Could you give the micro to nicely?
Thank you. Thank you. Just quickly, as Tom introduced kindly, the work we have done in the Committee on the Climate Change and Impact to Rural Areas and Agriculture. First of all, we have to say that there are a lot of opportunities with it. Let's be clear about that, because we have a forest. We are capturing CO2. If we are clever about this strategy, we can create enormous amount of new jobs in the rural areas in this bioeconomy context. Now, the only thing what we have to be worried about and very careful about is the policies to be, as we say, consistent, coherent, because we still don't know how much will be, as farmers, not penalized but looked into. Emission trading schemes, LULUCF integration into that. All of those questions, these are the discussions, I would say, which will start very heavily happening after this, at the end of this month. So we have to be very active also as rural parliament at least setting in the good beginning for this discussion, and we'll also have a major role to play in these discussions. So this is what is needed, the proper voice from the active civil society, from the rural areas, exactly on if there is a problem, where is the problem, and how to solve that problem. So this is something for us to be very keen to look into in the near future, not to fall asleep. Now is the time to be very cautious about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. To close, I have 3 points. One is I want to come back to Michael's interpretation of what politics is about. The art of the possible, perhaps also the art of the needed. We are forced to change. We are forced to change things in our rural communities as in our societies, and especially in Europe. We are losing solidarity between member states. We are losing understanding between different governments. So our role as civil society, I think, and specifically what we are doing, is to say, yes, we can do things in rural areas. We cannot do all, but we are ready to do it. The manifesto certainly is not about just demanding from our governments to do something for us. Just to, once we have decided what we need to do and what we want to do, to support us in doing that. And in that sense, I think we should do our discussion in this afternoon. Now, I would like, before I give Thomas for some, just not at the moment, just a second, we have so far really had discussions in a, let's say, in a way in which we say, how can we best work together? But, of course, in a community, in a family, everywhere, there are also hiccups about certain things. And I think Boban caused a little hiccup this morning when he called Macedonia, Macedonia. And I think we should give the chance to our Greek friends to react to that because they asked for it. And I just a word before that, I'm from a region where we had lots of hiccups about that, where once we had the Danish king ruling us and then the Germans and so on, we have different places where I think history is important to take into account. And if you can do that in this spirit, that you take history and ambitions of people to define who they are into account, then I think we can close this morning session in a good way. Please, yours.
First of all, I do apologize for this statement. I didn't have the intention to do this, but Boban Ilic's speech in the morning provoked me. So, we're here is the European Rural Parliament gathering. We're here to make policy, instruments for the rural community, for the rural economy, not to make policy affair. Okay, we have to consider this. Second, talking about democracy. One of the foundations of the European Union. One of the principles of the democracy is to pay respect to the official decision and to the official documents. So, the name of the country that Boban is coming, the official name is Fyrom, is not Macedonia. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, now Thomas, please. We have a 1.5 hours lunch break. We gather here in the hall, please, we gather here in the hall at 2 o'clock sharp, and then begins the final session of discussing the manifesto. Please do not move out yet. Thomas has, hello, woo. Please, please calm down, calm down. I know you are hungry, I understand that. But there are important informations for you Thomas would like to share with you. Thomas.
So, please, can I have a final information? We would offer a shuttle to the train station Passau at 1:45. So 1:45. Who needs this shuttle? How many persons would need this shuttle at 1:45? 1? 2? Okay. Some more? Maybe stand up. It's better for me if you stand up. Maybe. Who need this shuttle? At 1, Tom and you. Okay. 2, then I will order a taxi, or maybe myself will go with my car. 1:45, a 1:45 at the bus stop between Town Hall and Tent, you know. So, the next, we would offer a bus to Munich around 4 afternoon. A bus would go if there are enough people like to join this bus. Please stand up. Who likes to go with the bus at 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can order a bus with 20 persons is fine. The bus will leave at 4 afternoon. 4 afternoon, again there. Please be there in time. I don't have the names when you're not here. The bus will leave in any case, of course. So, the next thing. Tomorrow morning on 7th. The field visit, the optional field visit trip, again. I have to say it again because I told it here and I had the same questions outside. We'll leave at 9 from here. How many persons are now from this community are now trying to attend this field visit? Please stand up. Let's make a last count about who will join the field visit trip. It depends on if whether we need 1 or 2 buses. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So because we have more than 70 registration, thanks, and expected that it can't be 70. It's not double. So, the field trip, listen, the field trip. All those who have to depart then, take your luggage with, okay? The train and the bus will stop latest 2:30, I think a little bit earlier, because a few guests have the train from Passau at 2:31, so we will be there at 2:15 afternoon at the train stop Passau. The field visit will directly go to the train station Passau. If one like to attend the field trip and have to leave a little bit earlier, we are very close to Passau. We always can manage a taxi. Let's say at 12 or 12:30 or however. We will manage a taxi from there where we are. It's a field trip very close to Passau. We are not far away from there. Okay. Good. Then are the 2 Kosovo delegation here who are departing from Vienna in the morning, 9:55. If they're still here, please come to the registration desk. But I think all other, yeah, then, good, 7th November. I said in the morning, I would offer a bus on Saturday morning, 9 o'clock to Munich, if there are enough persons interested. Please stand up. Who needs a bus at 9 o'clock morning to Munich? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's not so much for a bus.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, here. 7, 8. 8.
9, 10.
9, 10. Okay. We have counted you. Okay. Then please. Please. It's so important, please. Otherwise, I get confused and I can't carry any responsibility for anyone here. Yeah. Please. Then it's fixed. A bus will leave at 9:00 from the bus station. If anyone like to use this bus for the bus can first bring it to the train station to Schärding, for example. Yeah, it's on the way. It's very simple. That the bus first go to the train station to Schärding and then leave for Munich. It's fine. Good. All the other arrangements I think I have done. Again, Sunday, 8 November. I see that around more than 10 have to go to Munich again. We will offer a bus at 7 in the morning. 7 o'clock morning to go on Sunday to go to Munich. Who needs this bus at Sunday 7 to go to Munich? Please stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So a minivan. Is anyone hosted in Best Western Passo who has to be fetched? No. Okay, 4 you. Okay, so I only have to take it. This was 4. I know you're hungry, but I have to clarify that, yeah? So, good. You're from Kosovo. Please come to my registration. Then, look on your badge. You're again splitted. Ones are having lunch here, the others lunch in the tent. Those who have lunch here, please stay here. You will get the presentation. These are all countries, 1,000 from Austria. It's the Balkan states and so on, because there is a team here, they're already attending us, Jerusalem Peaceway. The 2 guys there, they walked from Austria to Jerusalem in 6 months. And they have that year to create the longest peaceway of Europe from Santiago de Compostela to Israel. And they will show you a film about their walk. It's 15 minutes presentation at, let's say, it's 1 o'clock, it's too early, I think 1:15. Because they are looking for partners in Kosovo, in Bosnia, everywhere. And I managed it that you all have lunch here to get this presentation at 1:50 about the Jerusalem way. Please stay here, enjoy the presentation. It's 15 minutes presentation until 1:30. Thanks so much, have a good meal. Just a moment.
Just a moment, please. Let's give a big applause to the people on stage who have given and to Thomas and his team. It's just incredible what they are doing. Now enjoy your lunch.